I'm William Vinson. What is split testing? Marketers, salespeople, and professionals everywhere agree one of the simplest ways to boost post-click landing page conversion rates also happens to be the most effective. That's why businesses everywhere are increasingly allocating more of their budget to the powerful and relatively pain-free method of optimization known as split testing. What is split testing? Split testing, commonly referred to as A/B testing, allows marketers to compare two different versions of a web page, the original control page and variation, to determine which performs better with the goal of boosting conversions. Ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can understand the reason behind the change in performance. For example, let's say you want to see if a different headline would bring a lift in conversion rate on your post-click landing page. The original headline reads, "How to generate more leads for your business," and the variation reads, Learn the one secret method the experts use to generate leads." After generating traffic to both, you find the variation produces more conversions than the original. Since there's only one difference between the two pages, you can be confident that the headline was the reason for the lift. Better with the goal of boosting conversions. Ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can understand the reason behind the change. For example, ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages. Ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can Ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can understand the reason behind the changes. Ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can understand the reason behind the change in performance. For example, ideally, there'll only be one difference between the two pages so the tester can understand the reason behind the change in performance. For example, now this is how all split tests would be performed in an ideal world, one change at a time. Unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world. The practical way to split test. The major problem with the ideal way to split test, only changing one element per test, is that each test requires many times tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of visits worth of traffic before it can be concluded. So there's also a more practical way to do it. Consider this. You want to boost conversions on your post-click landing page, so you make the following changes. Headline: from how to generate more leads for your business to learn the one secret method the experts use to generate more leads. Change the call to action button from submit to show me the secret. A form with 4 fields, name, email address, phone number, and company name, to a form with 2 fields, name and email address. After running traffic to both, you find that your new variation, with the changes implemented, generates 8% more conversions than the original. But wait a minute, you don't know why that conversion lift occurred. If you had conducted a multivariate test or tested one element at a time, you could confidently give a reason. On second thought, do you really care? Many businesses don't. They're interested in boosting conversions, and they don't care why or how it happens. When you don't have lots of time, traffic, or staff at your disposal and you're doing a major redesign, change only one element per test isn't practical. Keep in mind, though, running a split test isn't as easy as make a change and drive equal traffic to each page. There's a whole lot more to it, regardless of which method you use. What you should be wary of before starting a split test. Every marketer is seeking ways to boost conversions, and so they hear about split testing's ability to do that for web pages, and they dive right in. Only their hastiness leads them to make some common mistakes. What should you be wary of before you start your split testing? They test without a reason to. If you search split testing case study, you'll find endless blog posts claiming that a particular button color produces the most conversions and that there's an ideal number of fields to use on your form. And so it's only natural you'd try to implement these changes. On your post-click landing page, because if it worked for them, it could probably work for you. Except there's a problem. Their business, post-click landing page, offer, and audience are not the same as yours. So if you're thinking of trying something that worked for someone else, do yourself a favor and don't do that. Instead, you should be coming up with your own things to test your own data. Heat mapping tools, analytics software, and customer interviews are all great at identifying where your web page is falling short. From those, you can form a hypothesis about tests that have the potential to boost conversions. For every one article you find about the perfect button color or the ideal number of fields, you will find 2 refuting it. Wrong, the marketer will proclaim. Orange can't stand up to red. Silly, another one says. Clearly, green beats both. And the funny thing is, everybody's so busy arguing about who's wrong, they fail to miss the fact that they're all right. If marketer 1 tested a red button against an orange one on her post-click landing page and found the red one to produce more conversions, then she's correct about the red one being the right choice for her post-click landing page. If marketer 2 tested a green button versus a red one on his post-click landing page and found the green beat the red, then the green is the right choice for him. Does marketer 2's test results prove that a green button is better than red? Absolutely not. Marketer 1 could well test green against red and find that red still produces more conversions on her post-click landing page. The impact of the button color on conversions is heavily dependent on a number of things, like your audience and the color of the rest of the page, for instance, all of which vary from business to business. What works for someone else may not work for you. That's why all your tests should be rooted in your own data. While you shouldn't blindly follow best practices, ignoring them all can be just as harmful. There are some universal truths that apply to post-click landing pages. For example, it'd be a waste of time to test versions of your post-click landing page with or without navigation, because we already know that navigation kills conversion rates by giving prospects numerous exits off your page. Similarly, you wouldn't test a blue call to action button on a page with a blue background because it wouldn't grab as much attention as a contrasting color would. There's a commonly accepted design best practice is that 99 times out of 100 aren't worth your time and effort to test, which brings us to your next mistake. They test things that aren't likely to bring a lift. Once, Google tested 41 different shades of blue to determine which had the bigger impact on conversions. Could you too? Absolutely. But would you? We hope not. You see, businesses like Google have entire departments dedicated to testing like this and the revenue to support it. But on the whole, most businesses don't. In fact, Conversion Excel's 2016 State of the Industry report that found that 53% of businesses that use conversion rate optimization don't even have a dedicated budget for it. Additionally, most conversion optimizers work with a business with an annual revenue below $100,000. Unless you're working with resources similar to Google's, frivolous tests that attempt to determine the best shade of color are a waste of your company's time and money. Instead, you should be focusing on big changes that have the potential to make a big impact on your conversion rate, which brings us to the next big mistake. They assume that split testing will bring the biggest lift in campaign conversions. Split testing is actually only one part of your conversion equation, and sometimes it's not the optimization method that will bring the biggest lift. Derek Halpern does a great job of explaining exactly what we mean. If I get 100 people to my website and I have a 20% conversion rate, that means I get 20 people to convert. I can try to get the conversion rate to 35% and get 35 people to convert, or I could just figure out how to get 1,000 new visitors, maintain that 20% conversion rate, and you'll see a 20% of 1,000, 200 is much more than 35% of 100. Sometimes fiddling with your post-click landing page isn't what's going to bring you the biggest boost in conversions. Sometimes boosting your traffic will. Other times improving your advertisements will. What we're saying is this: before you begin split testing, make sure there aren't any holes in your campaign that could use some fixing. Now that you're aware of some common pitfalls, be honest with yourself about the readiness to split test. Is everything else in your campaign looking right? I hope you found value in my video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.